If you train and/or race in hot, humid conditions, give me a few minutes and let me show you how we use the Garmin not only to improve performance, but also speed up recovery. When you're training in hot, humid conditions, we always say with our clients that the most important thing is to be prepared. Now, when I make a comment like that, that can come across a little bit as snippy, and I don't want that to sound disrespectful or snide in any way. I want you to think about getting ready to run 100 meters, high hurdles, and you take off, you clear the first hurdle, no problem, but you hang your foot up on the second one. Just clip your toe a little bit. You lose a little bit of your speed. Do you have enough momentum to get over the third hurdle? Clip your toe again. Do you have enough speed to get over the next hurdle? The reason why I like to use that illustration is heat and humidity are going to punch you straight in the face. It's very difficult. Heat, unfortunately, is going to cause you to sweat at a higher level. I know that sounds like a Captain Obvious statement. Well, once we have high levels of heat, we're going to lose water at a higher rate, which could lead us to dehydration. When we sweat excessively, we lose more electrolytes, so now we run the risk of cramping. When you start to compound these two issues, right, your overall goal is to perform optimally. Well, you're losing your two key components, water and electrolytes. Well, now we start running into things like symptoms associated with heat stroke. We start running into, hopefully before heat stroke, we get into things like heat exhaustion. We notice that our speeds are starting to fall off. Again, we're not responding to the heat and humidity in a more positive manner. The heat and humidity starts to take over. That's what I want you to think about. The Garmin dashboard helps us on the preparation side. Now, when you wake up in the morning and the Garmin dashboard has a multitude of metrics, you could look at something, go back to the old school heart rate data. You could simply look at your resting heart rate. How much is it elevated over yesterday? If it's 3 beats, okay, I would change your workout protocols for today and I'd make it strictly aerobic, heart rate zone 2 and below. If you're up 5 beats, I wouldn't work out at all. I'd focus on maybe going back to bed, getting some more sleep. I'd focus on going to the store and getting food, focusing on food for tomorrow. I would be working on recovery if the heart rate's up more than 5 beats. The next cool thing associated with Garmin is not a report that's on Garmin, but by looking at a few numbers, you can answer this question. Is your body in a state of anabolic growth, or are you in a catabolic breakdown mode? We just talked about the idea that you've got, let's take body battery as a simple example. If you're literally not bouncing back day over day, you know that your body has got to be in a catabolic state. When the resting heart rate is up, it's showing excessive amounts of stress. You know that you're in a catabolic state. You're tearing the muscle tissue down. You're not getting enough rest, whether that be, when we say rest, we combine food, water, and sleep as a rest nugget. You're simply not getting enough of it. If you think about it as an equation, if you think about a teeter-totter, very simple example, food, water, and sleep rather, are the only things that can combat stress associated with personal, professional, financial, or the athletic. Well, you've got these metrics that show you, hey, are you in a state of growth or in a state of teardown? One of the things that Garmin can help us out with, of course, is we can look at our performance. If you have an easy day, these are something that most people don't think about. If you are extremely fatigued, if you have not absorbed, if you're in a state of catabolic teardown, your easy workouts are going to seem harder than they are. Beautiful part about Garmin is instead of what you think, right, we're going to strip the emotion from it. You can look at your average speed against your average heart rate. You've got enough historical data. You know that you can ride your bike for 20 miles. You can do that in an hour and your heart rate's 130 to 135. Well, you ride the same course and you're trying to, you can do it one of two ways. You're trying to hold the same pace and the heart rate's higher, or you're holding the heart rate and the pace is slower. Your body's in a state of catabolic teardown. And I want you to think about how many indicators are you going to wait on before you finally start to heed advice. So the Garmin plays a tremendous role. You can look at performance, you can look at your recovery variables, and you can answer the question, am I in a state of anabolic growth or am I in a catabolic teardown? The third thing that I love about Garmin is what I refer to as behavior modification and accountability. When you're looking at those numbers in the morning and you see that the heart rate is up, you see the body battery is not bouncing back, you see that your HRV is out of balance, you see that your average stress score is poor, You see that your sleep ratios aren't looking very good. This is where accountability and responsibility comes in. If you look at your calorie burn rate yesterday and you use MyFitnessPal and you calculate how much food you've consumed, if that gap is more than 100 to 200 calories, you're putting the body into a state of teardown. I want you to stop and think about this. If you hire me to build a 2-story house, but the lumber company only delivers enough lumber to build 1 story, I can't build you a 2-story house. I don't have enough building supplies. If you burnt, I'm going to use some loose numbers here, if you burnt 3,000 calories yesterday and you took in 2,000 or 22 or 2,500 calories, at the end of the day, your calorie expenditure is done, right? Where's the building materials that the body can rejuvenate itself? You fueled your workout, you fueled school, you fueled work, you fueled your family time. Now you lay down to go to bed and there's this calorie gap. How's the body supposed to rejuvenate itself? Now, I sincerely appreciate you watching these videos. The number of people that are subscribing and watching, the numbers are growing extremely quickly, and I'm extremely humbled by that. This is where the accountability and responsibility comes in. What good is it to say you're going to read a book a week for a year? At the end of the year, you boast that you read 52 books. How about you just do what the first book recommended that you do? Stop and think about that. That's what I love about putting these videos together. I want you to adjust your behavior as an investment in yourself. Instead of investing in the S&P 500, how about you invest in the S&Me? Take this knowledge and leverage it. When you leverage the knowledge, now you've improved your health. You've improved your performance in training, and then ultimately in racing. And this is where it becomes such a fun environment for me, because if you're watching this video, I know you're dedicated to your health and your performance. If I can get you to understand the context and the why we do things and why we don't do other things, it's not about me being right. It's about you going, okay, I tried it and it works. Perfect. It works for you. It works for everybody, because I didn't create the principles of physiology and nutrition, but we definitely want to respect and honor them. That's how you're going to get from where you're at to where you want to be in a straight line. So when we zoom out to 10,000 feet, this accountability and responsibility comes into, you've got the numbers. If the numbers are good, you know what you've done to create them. If the numbers get out of center and out of balance, you know what adjustments you need to make. You've got those benchmarks. Now you can make those adjustments. Now, for those of you who are watching this and you're a parent, I think it's very cool that we can use the Garmin as an accountability tool. If your athlete is good at a sport, they probably can understand looking at a graph on Garmin Connect. Very simple. If you can read a graph on Garmin Connect on what's working and what's not, mom and dad, this is an accountability tool for your athlete, not you. They say that they want to be the best. If you're an adult and you don't have children, you say you want to be the best, then why don't you stop telling me that you want to be the best and show me that you're the best? I say with my coaches and with all my clients, the best way that you can show me that you're dedicated to being the best is show me your checkbook and show me your time management resource. I use Microsoft Outlook. How you spend your time and how you're spending your money tells me everything that's a priority in your life. Now that can come across as a tad bit harsh, and I don't mean for it, but you have things like looking at your screen time. How much time did you spend on the phone today? Probably more than you exercised. How much time did you spend putting in your calories through MyFitnessPal, which automatically populates into the Garmin dashboard? If you're putting in the calories in MyFitnessPal and we bounce it against your burn rate, we can use that as an adjustment tool to make sure that we're bridging the calorie gap. We go to bed, the body rejuvenates itself. It's in a mode of anabolic growth, because recovery means muscle growth. That means stronger immune system. That means better aerobic engine. On and on it goes, right? The anabolic growth comes from sufficient recovery. There's no other way to look at it. So when you see people that are advocating these big calorie deficits and long periods of time with no food, it does go against the grain of how a human performs. Sure, you could kind of barely survive in those environments, and the body will adapt until it can't. And again, being on this side of the camera, there's many, many people that do consultations with us on a monthly basis that have tried all these fad diets, and eventually it ends up ruining their health. What does it all come back to? Fundamentals. You've got to keep the calorie gap between what you're burning and what you're taking in. When you do that, it'll improve your sleep. When you nail your hydration levels, you're well fed, rested, and hydrated, you're going to wake up tomorrow in a mode of growth, leaner, stronger, faster. And again, I didn't make these principles, but we do need to respect them for sure. Now what you've got is an accountability resource, not in regards to a slap on the hand, just validating that what you're implementing is truly working, and that's what matters at the end of the day. The last thing I want to share with you is almost an extension of the last point, and that is you can use historical data to modify your future behavior. I mentioned to you that I use Microsoft Outlook. I keep a projected versus an actual schedule. I have all my coaches do it, and I have my clients do it as well. The idea here is when you set your day up, what got in the way of what you outlined? If we back that train up a little bit, what you put on your schedule was based on what's important to you. Sleep, what time are you going to bed, what time are you waking up? When in your schedule are you actually going to purchase, prep, and actually consume your food? Put that on your calendar. When we're looking at your time with your friends and family, when we're looking at the time that you're actually going to exercise, the allotment of hours, because you can't manage time, you can only manage yourself. The allotment of time helps me understand where your priorities are. Now what we have to do is go back and look at, did you actually do it? If you weren't able to do it, what got in the way? It could be more important. Your child had a soccer game, you had something you needed to go to, and it got in the way of your time to go to the gym. That's commendable. You're being your child's parent. That's awesome. This is where we want to continuously adjust the future based on the past, right? If you think about, if you look at where you're at right now, how many people have set New Year's resolutions, depending on when you listen to this video, right? How many people set New Year's resolutions and a month in, they've already broken those New Year resolutions? Well, the problem hasn't changed. It's the behavior hasn't changed. So what I always like to encourage you is look back before you can look forward. Look back at how you projected your day. Your day is outlined based on what you told me were your priorities. And essentially you end up making some adjustments. I want you to write this down. Every time that you say a yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And then every time you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. If you're telling me, let's say you call us up and you want a high-end performance program, or you're somebody that's tired and not able to lose weight after trying for decades, okay? Well, if you tell me that you want to get leaner, stronger as an athlete, if you tell me that you want to drop body fat as a weight loss client, no problem. If you want to drop the body fat, then you've got to say no to late night TV and you've got to get yourself 9 hours of sleep. That's where it starts. Believe it or not, when we're working on losing body fat, the first place you start is with weight loss. Is you start with sleep. The other thing that we do is we look at the food, right? So when you say no to something that's fried and you say yes to a power salad, that gets you closer to your goal. Not my goal, your goal. This is where behavior modification comes in, and this is where I find the Garmin extremely helpful because it's historical data. I don't ever want you doing something unless you know why you're doing it. When you do it, I want an evaluation tool to validate that what you're doing is actually moving you closer to where you want to be. Dropping some body fat, building some lean muscle mass, improving speed, improving endurance, reducing risk of injury. The list goes on and on. Each of you have your own goals and your objectives that you want to achieve. What I'd like to encourage you is replace the word goals with frustrations. If you're still carrying unwanted weight, if you're not as fast as you want to be, why is that? That's not a lack of goals. There's something that keeps getting in the way of frustration. So let's address the frustration first using the Garmin, and you'll be able to deal with heat, you'll be able to deal with humidity, you'll make sure that everything that you put under your schedule is moving you towards your desirable outcome. I know it sounds a little bit textbookish, but literally I've been doing this at 40 years at the time of this recording, and I've had the privilege of working with tens of thousands of people with great results. And I say that very, very humbly because you're the one putting in the sweat equity. I'm just trying to set the context as to why it's important and how to do it. I'm beyond humbled by the number of people that are subscribing and watching this. Thank you for watching this today. If you're new, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. And the notifications are important because we put a video out every day answering your questions. So should you ever have a question, please send it to me. contact@coachrobb.com. I hope you've enjoyed this video today. I've got 2 more that are on the same subject, and I hope that you find it equally as informative. Thanks again for your time.